is Alex Combs, and I am a cartoonist in San Francisco. Let's see, I have done a lot of different types of art. Um, let's see, I've been to art school and I've dabbled in a million different things there. And then I, for a while, thought I was going to be a tattoo artist. And I actually did that for about 6 years until it led to some pretty serious wrist and hand problems. And now here I am trying to be a cartoonist. And so I actually doing pretty good with that. I just got to announce that I'm going to be drawing a full-length comic, a graphic novel length graphic telling of trans history. So that's so exciting. Cool. So it won't be done for a couple of years, but that's what I'm working on now. So I identify as trans and queer, and I use he, him, or they, them pronouns. I'm doing the trans history, which I think a lot of times history is like immediately, feels boring, like maybe a boring subject. But I honestly feel the more that I learn and the more I get into it, truth is stranger than fiction, and it can be just as entertaining as reading a fiction book. And plus, then you're learning. So let's see. So I think one of the things that informs my work personally is that idea, and that I guess I sort of see myself as trying to present that information in a way that will be a little bit more entertaining so that people can absorb it with a little more ease. I think it's really important, especially for LGBTQIA, Two-Spirit plus people, to learn our history, because I think not knowing it has led to a lot of suffering through either just, a lot of people actually having grown up thinking I'm the only one who feels this way. Until recently, I think even still, people still maybe have that experience, but maybe it's a little less common now with, all the information online that is accessible now. But even if you don't grow up thinking I'm the only one, I think a lot of people still absorb a lot of negative messaging surrounding if they do have, a non-heterosexual or a non-cis identity, still end up thinking those questions of, is there something wrong with me? Am I bad? Am I not as worthy of, participation in society? And not only do we absorb those messages, which leads to internal suffering, but also our friends and family who might be very well intentioned can absorb those messages and reflect that back on us. And of course, there's those who actively want to take away, rights, and actively do want to put legislation out there that will push us into the margins of society, where there are a lot of trans people, there are a lot of people under the rainbow are, experience higher levels of living in poverty and suffering abuses from, at the hands of power, at the hands of the police, and in the carceral system. So I think all that stuff leads to, greater suffering in our community, just because, there's hasn't been a lot of information about us out there, and the information that has been out there has often been in a very negative light. So I think it's really important to put information out there that's not framed that way to, hopefully help.
Yeah.
Hopefully help our community. And I also realized that even before I was doing the nonfiction and stuff, my identity did also influence my work greatly. When I first was like realizing something was different about me, and I didn't at the time know the words trans or queer, or if I did, it didn't. I think I started to learn queer in college, but like when I was in my late teens and high school in the late 1990s, um, those really weren't like identity concepts that I had access to for whatever reason. Just the narrowness of my worldview. I think it's not that they weren't starting to be used out there in general in the community, but so a lot of my artwork would be surrounding expressing what I felt inside through drawing characters, making up characters that I felt expressed my gender, and like making up stories around those characters and using those characters in role play situations with like a limited group of people, because there were some of my friends and my partners who I dated did know about like my feelings and everything, but it was mostly a secret. It wasn't something that I ever thought like in a million years that I could embody and live, or that anyone would take me seriously. So it was mostly something that I thought, well, this is a private thing. There's no reason for anyone else to know this except for my very close group of friends. And I still wasn't applying the word trans to myself, because even though I'd started to learn about some trans people, it was still very much in the limited meaning on that word. That was my understanding, because I was seeing like Jerry Springer, which was a talk show, which was very exploitative, but at the same time, it was one way that trans people would actually get to see that there were other people that existed like them. But it was also like, definitely presented as, look at this, really freaky person. And everyone would, be like, whoa.
Yeah, Jerry Springer is not the place you want to see representation.
Yeah, I know. But at the same time, those brave people who did go on there actually, they were helping their community. Um, so anyway, so my identity, especially like in high school and stuff, when I was dealing with all that and drawing and dealing with all my gender identity through my drawings, that really drove me to actually want to create, and was a huge fuel, a huge push behind me becoming good at drawing at all. Because to me, that was like what I needed. And I wasn't necessarily because I like wanted to become good at drawing because I wanted to be an artist. Like, it took me like way a long time till I was like, fine, I guess I'll like try to be an artist. But it was definitely driven like by that need to express like my gender and sexuality. Yeah, I think that those are the main things that I came up with.
Yeah, I don't have any other questions for you, but I just would like to thank you again. I really appreciate this. And it was just really exciting to talk to you and hear from you about all of this stuff.
Thank you. I really appreciate you reaching out.